The city is in chaos. A powerful explosion shakes the buildings, destroying everything in its path. Monsters have appeared all over the world, devouring people and causing widespread destruction. With each passing day, the threat grew stronger and stronger. Humanity found itself defenseless. In order to stop these creatures, a special group was created to exterminate them. The government organized the AMMS Squad, a special unit to eliminate monsters. Their goal is to completely destroy the threat and restore calm to the world, and now another man will join them. The guy watches in horror as the giant monster tears apart the city, and his eyes reflect fear. He realizes that there is a real monster in front of him, but in his soul there is a desire to fight too. However, when he comes face to face with a huge creature, the situation becomes critical. One thought flashed through his mind: this is really bad. A powerful blast of blue energy rips open the monster's jaws, piercing through it. You can only join the ranks of the fighters after a rigorous selection process and grueling trials. These carefully selected people were the last hope of mankind. The girl with the whip looks at the young man with cold fury. Do you want to die? They have become the last shield for humiliated humanity. She demands that he start working immediately. Panic breaks out in the town as a giant monster collapses buildings and a woman screams for everyone to run. The boy screams in fear as he sees the huge debris flying straight at the teacher. At the last moment, someone rushes at her, saving her from imminent doom. The guy helps the woman up and asks if she's okay, giving his name, Kisaragi Ituki, as fighter. She worries about his injury, but he only smiles. There's nothing wrong with me, it's nothing. The woman insists that the wound needs to be bandaged, but Kisaragi only stares at her in silence. After the bandage was tied, he thanks her with a slight smile. Realizing it's time to go, she says a quick goodbye and thanks him for his help. In panic, people run away, screaming in fear as the monster approaches. Kisaragi, sword in hand, jumps off the railing right onto the monster. His energy-filled blade pierces the monster with force, leaving a flash of light behind. Barely catching his breath, he realizes that he was able to win, but a new threat is close at hand. Suddenly, a strange feeling overwhelms him. An ominous aura hangs in the air. In the distance, a woman and her children have not yet realized the danger, and Kisaragi rushes towards her. He yells, demanding that she move away immediately, but she's confused and doesn't realize what's going on. Suddenly, a creepy monster appears from behind the fence and pounces on the woman. She cries out as the creature pierces her with its stinger, letting out an eerie screech. One of the children calls out to her in a panic and she falls to the ground, weakened. Kisaragi breathes heavily, realizing he didn't make it in time and the poison has already begun to take effect. The woman looks at her hands in horror. The infection is spreading rapidly through her body. He realizes that it is urgent to evacuate everyone, because the situation is becoming critical. One of the children, trembling, calls out to the teacher, but a dark energy begins to condense around him. The teacher has turned into a monster, and she yells at the student to run. The monster attacks, but Kisaragi manages to grab the boy, dodging the blow. He clenches his fist as he looks at his enemy, realizing that this battle will not be an easy one. A huge monster with a red core in its chest says, "Run," and the girl's soul reaches out its hand in tears, begging for help. Kisaragi Itsuki grasped the hilt of his sword with determination, a look of certainty in his eyes that said he would save her. The monster looms over Itsuki, its creepy tentacles ready to attack. People run away in panic, while the hero confidently chops the tentacles aimed in his direction. The monster releases new offshoots, threatening to regenerate. Itsuki is startled to notice that the monster has already started regenerating, but fails to dodge in time and gets hit. Two high school students run away trying to escape. At that moment, they are immediately pierced by tentacles. Both drop dead as Kisaragi watches this madness. Clutching the hilt of his sword, he exclaims, "Damn," and rushes to attack. Itsuki attacks the monster from above, shredding its tentacles surrounded by a powerful aura, and screams to destroy the core. His blade struggles to reach the core with force. However, one of the remaining tentacles hits Itsuki sharply, throwing him aside. Falling to the ground, he tries to get up, but the monster doesn't give him a chance, quickly approaching with another attack. Looking at the enemy, he grits his teeth, realizing that he alone cannot handle this horrible creature. There are already wounded people lying around. The monster has pierced several people with its tentacles, and their bodies are falling down exhaustedly. Itsuki clenched his fists, his teeth gritted in anger, but he wasn't going to back down. He rises slowly, his gaze becoming determined. There can be no more retreat. Gathering all his strength, he is convinced. This monster must be destroyed, no matter what it takes. Itsuki lunges right at the monster, getting its attention and pulling it away. He notices the monster's heart begin to beat harder and his eyes flash with determination. The hero rushes forward with a shout, swinging his weapon to strike. At that moment, a spear or blade of energy rushes towards the monster, but its tentacle has time to react. Itsuki watches in shock as the monster dodges despite the attack. The enemy counterattacks, and one of its tentacles hurts Itsuki. But Itsuki doesn't care. He brings his blade to bear on the monster once more. He throws his dagger at the monster, aiming for the core. Just a little more and the dagger will reach the monster's heart. Although the dagger reached its target, Itsuki's body was also pierced by the tentacle. The girl with short hair confidently throws herself into the fray, shouting that she can handle herself. She swiftly flies towards the monster while Kisaragi Itsuki falls to the ground. The teacher smiles and thanks as if saying goodbye. Itsuki notices as the monster begins to scream and its body begins to disintegrate. Exhausted, he thanks her, lowering his head. The girl looks sadly at the injured Itsuki, saying that it's terrible. Lying on the ground, he breathes heavily, not realizing what is happening. Suddenly something begins to move next to his body, causing tension. The girl stares in shock at what is happening while Itsuki, shocked, tries to comprehend the situation. The unknown creature begins to rise, and someone's voice asks, "Who are you?" The girl with the glasses looks on with concern and tries to figure out what's going on. Itsuki, holding on to his wound, realizes that his body looks strange and that now he won't be able to hide his nature. Upon seeing the scanner data, the girl is shocked to realize that Itsuki is determined to be a monster of unknown rank. Itsuki notices the girl suddenly grabbing the weapon. The girl activates her power and attacks the young man, and Itsuki realizes that the situation is getting out of control. In a panic, he realizes that he could be killed right now. Suddenly a man with a cape appears from above, ready to intervene in the situation. Itsuki and the girl stare at the unknown man in amazement, not realizing what's going on. The stranger calmly approaches and asks why they are here. He introduces himself as Captain Hirako Ryoga of the Mobile Monster Squad. Hirako reports that Itsuki is the second recruit to arrive today, much to Chiaki's surprise. The girl introduces herself as Hanamiya Chiaki, a second squad fighter with whip and melee skills. However, before she can finish introducing Itsuki, she clenches her fist and strongly objects. Chiaki screams that Itsuki is a monster and she can't trust him. Hirako calmly states that they don't have to get along, but the decision has been made and they'll have to live with it. He recalls that Itsuki protected civilians at the risk of his own life. Despite her anger, Chiaki grits her teeth and agrees to try to accept the situation. At that moment, an urgent message arrives about the appearance of a monster in Tokyo, causing the squad to react instantly. The squad is ordered to move immediately to the scene. Panic begins in the subway. People in terror run out of the cars, fleeing from the monster. The young man holding his younger brother screams that by all means he will save him. He tries to pull him out of the monster's clutches. The younger brother, with terror in his eyes, clings to the older brother's hand. But suddenly the monster starts to pull him back, increasing his fear. Kisaragi Itsuki, noticing the situation, rushes to the rescue. He attacks the monster with his sword, resolutely breaking through to the boy. Itsuki asks the guy if he's okay. He stutters and replies that yes, he's obviously still scared. Itsuki promises to save him immediately. He holds his little brother tightly and looks forward with determination in his eyes. With a fierce swing of his blade, Itsuki protects the boy from another monster attack. The younger brother yells, "Big brother," and throws himself into his arms. Emotions overwhelm them both as the situation temporarily stabilizes. A strange sound comes from around him. Itsuki becomes alarmed and looks forward to see a new opponent. A huge monster fills the entire space. Itsuki urges the men to evacuate urgently to the exit. One of them, trembling, agrees and follows his instructions. Itsuki realizes that the monster's main body is in front of him, and its core must be somewhere nearby. The giant creature slowly rises, and Itsuki watches in amazement. The passengers flee in panic as the monster releases something that looks like clots of poison. Suddenly, one of those clots hits Itsuki, piercing his back. He falls to his knees, feeling his body go numb, and the passengers anxiously ask if he's okay. Itsuki, enduring the pain, yells for everyone to run away quickly for fear that someone will see his back. He clenches his fist, hating his powerlessness, but makes sure the evacuation goes well. At this time, Chiaki notices the monster's movement and realizes that it is about to attack. Itsuki sharply warns her of the danger, yelling for her to be more careful. Chiaki reacts quickly, making a swift jump, dodging the monster's attacks. The girl easily shreds the monster, her blow slicing through its body. Itsuki marvels at her strength. The monster was defeated with just one blow. The rescued boy thanks the girl, and she is happy that he is in one piece. Itsuki, on the other hand, is disappointed in himself. The girl happily calls Itsuki her big brother and thanks him with a bright smile. Itsuki smiles back, advising her to be careful on her way home. The girl watches squeamishly as Itsuki gropes his back and he feels something unpleasant. She warns him that if anyone sees his body, it could cause problems. Chiaki adds that this will not only affect their squad, but also Captain Hirako. The girl reminds Itsuki that he should realize that he is a monster. As evening approaches, the team makes their way to the surface where they are met by the commander. The commander announces that the destruction of the monster is complete, and then offers to return to base. He looks at Kisaragi in silence, then throws his cape over him. Kisaragi doesn't know the truth yet as their team returns to AMMS headquarters. The commander informs them that they have 2 other fighters in their squad besides Chiaki. Kisaragi notices someone entering the room. The vice captain and ace of the second squad appear in front of him. The man with the stern expression is introduced as Hyudo Iori, second vice captain. Kisaragi notices that the one is considerably taller than him, which makes him uneasy. At that moment, a girl with red hair bursts into the room. She confidently declares that she will finally be able to hit it today. The man in red attacks with a swagger, but is caught and asked with a smile if he can be introduced. Hirako immediately interrupts the red-haired man's attack. Then suddenly the guy is thrown to the ground with a powerful blow. Itsuki looks on as he is being prepared for the performance. A man with red hair, lying on the floor, they call him Asakura Yuma, a promising fighter for the squad. Itsuki staggered, looking at his new acquaintance. Yuma extends his hand and introduces himself, suggesting that we just call him Yuma. The squad leader interrupts their acquaintance, saying he has things to do and they can do whatever they want. With the 2 of them left alone, Yuma stretches and asks what they are going to do. He then offers Itsuki with a sly smile to show what he can do. Kisaragi Itsuki ponders that if he knows more about his partners, it will be easier for them to work as a team. The interlocutor asks if Hirako-san trained him, and admits to being a little jealous. Itsuki thought this man would turn out to be troublesome, but now it seems to him that he might be a good person. The conversation ends, and one of them offers to head onward. Itsuki walks into the training room. He is told that they will be watching him from here and asked if he is ready. One observer suggests letting Itsuki rest after the mission, but another thinks it's not a problem since the enemy isn't too strong. The training program starts, and the door to the room with the monster begins to open. Itsuki enters the arena, pondering that it will be business as usual. However, a giant monster appears in front of him, causing him to freeze in surprise. The huge creature approaches with a thud, and Itsuki barely manages to bounce aside in time. He doesn't believe they can use such monsters in training. The creature attacks sharply, forcing it to defend itself. Itsuki struggles to keep his balance. He crosses his arms, blocking another attack. The wall explodes into pieces, but Itsuki is forced to quickly dodge the aftermath of the explosion. Watching the fight, Yuma is unhappy that Itsuki is showing such a level despite training with Hirako. Iori doubts that this level of challenge is not too difficult for a beginner. Yuma only notes that monsters can appear at any moment, hinting at the reality of battles. Iori thinks that too much is being asked of the newcomer. The 2 watch on, looking down in surprise, while down below, Itsuki through the pain tries to pull himself together. Itsuki is bloodied and pinned by the monster's spikes. Realizing that the situation is getting worse, he thinks back to the past, comparing this moment to what he's already experienced, and struggles to clench his fist, forcing himself to move. Somewhere in the darkness there is a frightening voice asking if he is about to do terrible things. A huge monster appears in front of him, and little Itsuki desperately screams for it to stay away. The monster rushes forward and Kisaragi tries to run away in fear, realizing it's useless. A loud cry of pain echoes through the darkness, and Itsuki, lying on the floor, weakly pleads for help. A man with silver hair appears in front of the child and says with a cold smile that no one can help the monster. Looking at his bloody body, Itsuki is horrified to realize that he is no longer the same person he was before. The stranger's voice asks him with a sneer whose blood is now flowing, and then speaks his name as if knowing more than it should. Itsuki's eyes glow purple. He panics and screams, not wanting to relive this nightmare again. On the floor lies his shredded and bloody body. Through tears and pain, he tries to resist, repeating that he doesn't want this. The monster opens its maw, and the voice in its head demands that the enemy be torn to pieces. Itsuki breaks down into a scream, desperately refusing to obey. People watching the fight are shocked at what is happening. Suddenly, his body bursts with purple energy and his wounds rapidly healed. He lunges at the monster, enveloped in torrents of the same mysterious power. Purple flames envelop the monster as if consuming it. Observers realize that his movements have become completely different. He's not the same person now. Itsuki easily smashes the monster with his blades, dark energy swirling around him. A smug smile lights up his face. He's clearly enjoying what's going on. Using his speed, he moves through the air, preparing to strike again. The monster lets out a piercing scream of pain as its body is torn apart by the attacks. Itsuki's eyes light up and his smile grows even wider. He is fully immersed in the fight. One of those watching is amazed at his calmness in such a situation. Itsuki makes a lightning leap, looking to land a decisive blow. He clenches the hilt of the blade with his teeth, preparing for his next move. With a sharp jerk, he dodges the monster's attack, sliding along the ground. He rolls over at the last moment and then delivers another blow to the monster. Yuma and Iori watch on, shocked at how much Itsuki has changed. The protagonist has lowered his weapon, his wounds are noticeable, but he is still full of strength. Observers realize his injuries are horrific, but he doesn't give any sign. Itsuki stands in front of his defeated foe, his expression remaining grim. He kneels down heavily in front of the monster's body, exhausted after the battle. Suddenly his mouth drops open. The tentacles of the monster where Itsuki's arm was severed begin to move. Yuma watches this from the control room, amazed at what he's doing. An error appears on the monitor, and Itsuki's vitals begin to spike. The man realizes that he needs to get him to a medical center right away or something terrible could happen. However, Yuma suddenly asked Iori to be careful not to get too close to Itsuki. At that moment, Itsuki turned to the man. But was it really our young man, or had he already become a monster?